do not even know how to integrate technology into their careers, because you don't need to only code. You can solve business problems. You can solve any problem in your already industry if only you knew how to integrate technology, right? So that, I think that would be one of the biggest reasons why
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Let's Talk Education Africa podcast. If you've been listening to me, 2024 has been very exciting. I've been bumping. I guess I always have to say that in my introduction for all of the episodes I've done so far. I've been bumping into really amazing people who are doing exciting stuff in the education space. So specifically if you like, edtech space, conversations around, technological integration into our education system. Yeah, space things around those conversations. As you know, I've come to get a reputation of speaking, a lot more to people within the edtech space. And today today's episode is rather going to be, really interesting, because when I bumped into this really interesting lady, I wasn't expecting to hear what she does. So when she mentioned it, it just piqued my interest, and I said I needed to get her on our podcast ASAP. Today with me in studio is, so she's the digital business consultant at the VGC Group, and she does something really interesting. Well, the thing that actually got me to bring her here, she's a technological author. So she writes book on technology, and I'm sure once we have the conversation, she's going to unpack what that means and, what she's been doing in that space. I'm excited for this conversation. I'm sure my listeners too are eager to hear what Charity Apuli does. So help me welcome Charity Apuli. Charity, welcome to the Let's Talk Education Africa podcast.
Hi, Kwame. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be on this podcast recording with you. I'm very, very eager to tell my story, and let's see how it goes.
Awesome. I'm happy to have you here. Let's jump right into it. Myself and my listeners are eager to hear about you and your background. So take it away from there.
Yeah, okay. So I like to call myself the digital business consultant. I transitioned from a very non-tech background, and sometimes it gets a little bit interesting when I talk about my background. And that brings me to the reason why I do what I'm doing, and of course the book, which is part of it. So a little bit about this. I had always wanted to do some form of academia or lecturing. And so I was very deep into it. From SHS, I got some good A's, and then got into University of Ghana to read economics, geography, maths, and French. But then I ended up graduating with economics and geography. And then, of course, I went to do my national service as a research assistant, did 2 more years on some good agri research projects. And then, of course, the dream is still alive. So my master's in a very quantitative, more quantitative field. That's MA in population studies and demography. But this is where it gets really, really interesting. So right after my course, I was kind of writing. Normally after coursework, you write your thesis, right? So in the course of doing that, I felt I was too idle. I decided to just, pick a sales job, just going around doing sales, getting myself busy, my sales, like how to sell. I just wanted to learn how to sell. But this is what happened. I got right in that department, that sales department and FMCG company. I saw how they were using tech to solve business problems. You can just imagine, at that age, I had not even heard anything about technology, even though I was in Accra here. The buzz was good, but I haven't heard anything. So when I got there, I was like, what are you guys doing? They said, oh, they're doing something called digital marketing. I said, no, I have to learn this. Enough of the field work. So I started putting myself into their work. It was really bumpy because, of course, I came from a very non-tech background. I had to jump on an Instagram digital marketing training later on, but I think that I ended up heading that particular department eventually, I think in a year and a half. And afterwards, I realized that no, I have to get into this particular department. It's not as if I abandoned my background, but then I felt that I needed to add something more techy to what we do, what I already do. So I jumped into a 1-year coding and business development. It was an all-women coding fellowship for a year. That means I had to quit my job and actually learn CSS, JavaScript, and HTML all from the beginning. Like we say, the rest is history. The rest is history. So over the years, I have transitioned a lot from doing project management, program, digital marketing, product management, which is very recent, and of course, data science as well. And all this had been very much important. Part of it is that I think that has been the most important ingredient in all of this is the quest to know, irrespective of the fact that I came from a very non-tech background. Right. So Kwame, should I go ahead and talk about what brought me here?
Well, let me jump in for a second. So
okay.
it's wow. I mean, your story is really interesting. Just listening to where you started from, where you are now. And I mean, as I was researching you, there's this thing you posted on your LinkedIn where you said a letter to my 20-year-old self. And as you were talking, number 6 stood out to me where it says, never be afraid to build resilience by trying new things. Take more initiatives. That is the only way to grow. And you've lived that. You've literally just lived that with you wanting to, getting into very unfamiliar spaces. And I'm sure my listeners can attest to how difficult that can be, getting out of your comfort zone, and especially in the tech space. So let me even speak for myself. Somebody who has been cautiously interested in, getting some knowledge in JavaScript, the tech stuff, the tech coding and all of that. But I always tend to shy away from it because I feel like it would probably be too much work and all of that. And so let me just say this, that listening to you has inspired me. It's giving me vim to want to explore that, to add to my skill set.
Of course.
I mean, it's really good. It's really good hearing that. And I think the beautiful thing about tech is its window, if you like, door to allow people to learn at their pace. Really, you can learn it at your pace. Just take your time and build on it as you move along. And you are testament to that. Now you are, look at the many hats that you wear now. You are now business consultant, products manager. Now you write books as well. And pretty amazing what you've been able to, do with yourself by just applying and getting out of your comfort zone. It's a truly inspiring story, and I'm happy you shared it with us. I want to jump into so what got you into the education space?
Okay. Thank you, Kwame. A little bit of touch on the resilience. Like I mentioned, I didn't mention that earlier about the fact that I was already a mother and now being a mother of 3.
Wow.
I really want to touch on this because I know young people are going to be hearing me out. They are going to want to hear, how they should do this. And of course, you did mention taking it at your own space so that you don't break down. Right. So as a mother, wife, sister, and every part that we wear, trying to take care of our home and also build a name out. Sometimes we find ourselves at a point where it's very difficult. But then, of course, the focus and the fact that you take it at, your own pace, making sure that one day after the other, you are picking something. When I started in technology, I had always wanted to do data science, but I didn't start out like that. I took advantage of the opportunities that came, whether in the job and all that. And thank God I'm getting into that space where I can call myself a fully fledged data science or a data person in the data or the tech space now. And so resilience is a very, very, very daring thing. You have to actually dare and challenge yourself. But in the midst of all that, you need to be able to take it one day at a time. So getting to your question about education is general, right? There are so many reasons why I would talk about education. One of the biggest things before I get into the other reasons is that at a point I got very angry. When I was learning how to code at the age of was it 26, 27, and I was having my little boy with me, I was angry because how come I never heard this before? How come nobody told me? How come I excelled in my courses? I'm very good at math, statistics. I get all A's, speech and prize. I get all these prizes. But how come nobody told me anything? So I took the liberty, or I put it on myself to do a personal research. So I started reaching out to all these groups online, the Python, all these other groups. And one of the biggest things when I started reading people's background is that, I read computer science at University of Ghana, and maybe this person, I don't want to mention names, this person from this hub came to us in the class, and then we went to, polish up our coding. And I was like, that's what got me a little bit more angry. I'm like, okay, so all these people you are actually reaching out to are already in that class. So if after school, they know that I study computer science or computer engineering, but I won't be able to, I would need to polish up. So I need to walk to this hub or this training center. Compared to you coming to just walking a little bit further to my class in economics or geography class, telling me that, there's a new branch, you can combine it with geography and do some form of GIS, mapping, aerial mapping and stuff. Maybe I would have listened, or I would have listened and done nothing about it. Right. What am I trying to say? The fourth industrial revolution started so many years ago. Like, it started a while ago. But we have not done enough work. Well, I would say that much people are doing work. I don't want to call it up to zero. But there is this disconnect between those who are already in the field and those who have not heard anything about it, right? So if I have to do anything else, then it has to be in this space. It has to be in this space. One, awareness, because people don't know. Like, sometimes you can be so enclosed in your small circle, thinking that everybody knows about technology, but just walk a little bit away from your circle and then tell somebody about ATM and say, okay, what's that? I don't know. And so that means that there is a lot more work getting out of our bubble, our small bubble. Is it bubbles? The small bubble will pull around ourselves in Accra or in central Accra and moving a bit out. Even in Accra here, a lot of people do not even know how to integrate technology into their careers, because you don't need to only code. You can solve business problems. You can solve any problem in your already industry if only you knew how to integrate technology. Right? So I think that would be one of the biggest reasons why I knew that I had to move into education. And of course, that has to start with some form of awareness.
I 100% agree with you. That awareness, that availability of knowledge, the access to it is very, 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 very important. I stress on it because it's so easy to be in your corner and think that nothing is happening in certain spaces you might be interested in, or even spaces you are interested in. But then it's just about, lifting your head and intentionally seeking out, and finding out more about that area that you are interested in. You'll be surprised that there's so many activities and there's so many things going on. And it's for me, when I speak to people, or even I decided some years ago that I was going to be big on networking, because there are conversations that are going on in certain circles that if you do not put yourself out there, if you do not get out of your comfort zone, if you do not leave your house, you are not going to get access to that information. And there's this quote that I carry along with me so much, and it says, life is about people, right? It's people that open doors, it's people that close doors, it's people that give opportunities, people that teach lessons, and so for the human experience, it's best to just put yourself out there, especially if you say you are interested in something. You might as well just put yourself out there, because you never know the conversations that are waiting for you, or the passion projects or the purposeful projects that people are executing that are just going to be open to you just because you appeared, or you spoke to someone, or you were nice to someone in some elevator, in the park, in the car, somewhere, so
that's true.
you are truly spot on. getting information. And for me, it's how you turn this around is the part that I'm particularly happy about. The fact that, well, I was interested in this. I couldn't find much information about this. I luckily bumped into certain people who were on that same path. And, I turned back to sort of put a structure around me where I can also lend that information to other people who might be looking. And that's exactly what you've done, and that's incredibly admirable. Getting, turning around, putting things in place to make sure that you're also going to spread the awareness. You're going to preach the message of technology and how people can leverage on it to change their lives, to impact their lives, their society, and by extension, the country. That's incredible. My heart is smiling hearing, the fact that you decided to take on that activity. Pretty awesome stuff. Listeners, I really do hope you are enjoying the conversation that we're having. If you are taking notes, I'm sure you should have filled the page by now, because there are so many gems that are being dropped. And I hope, you pick a thing or two from the conversation that we're having so far. Charity, I'd like to ask you, since you have one leg, in tech, you have one leg in preaching the message of tech, and you have another one too in the education space, which I clearly see you're passionate about. So I want to ask you, I want your take on the disruptions and innovations that are happening within the education space.
Yeah, so there's been quite a number of disruptions in the education space. And just like any tech expert will tell you, education interruption, especially using technology, actually started, let's not even sugarcoat it, started somewhere in the north, in the global north, where tools like AI, augmented reality, virtual reality, all these amazing stuff are aiding children, are aiding teachers, aiding schools to teach and learn. However, in our part of the world, edtech was a bit boring for some time until, of course, the almighty COVID-19 came about. Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy because in the initial stages, even very, very good schools in Accra, the schools that, pay huge sums of money, were not using technology in teaching or technology in learning at all. And of course, I don't like to go with names, but these are things that I personally have seen on the ground, because at a point I was kind of building an edtech startup at the time. And so I did a lot of groundwork, and most of the schools don't have what it takes to or what it took to do some form of like edtech based learning. But I'm so happy so far. Some of these schools have now installed monitors instead of the normal chalkboard. Some of them have introduced robotics, which is a very important thing for young people. Some of them have actually introduced innovative, iMaths or UCMaths for young people, because that is actually the basis for data science, all these things. And so learning it at a very young age for me is very laudable. And recently, the school that my children go to, one of them just sent me an email. I was happy because this was a school that I kept talking to. Oh, you need a system. You need a system. The parents don't need to log on. They could use maybe WhatsApp or text message, but you need to use a platform to integrate. Because, of course, I do have background in business analysis. So I do a lot of these business requirements work and stuff, right? I was so happy when they sent me an email telling me, oh, we are now on the school management system and you can log on to see everything about this. Is a very good school. So you can just imagine why and how they have waited all these years. I know that somebody will say it's very nonsense. EdTech is very nonsense, but even going to the EdTech event, the MasterCard event where we met, and seeing all these amazing innovations targeting teachers, some are targeting learners, some are creating job opportunities and skills acquisition, which is digital skills acquisition. And of course, me writing a book about awareness, you can see that people are catching on. are actually catching on. You've seen most edtech companies which are actually receiving money or venture money or angel money, which of them they are. So that tells you the amount of work that has been done since 2019 when COVID first hit to now. What it means is that a lot more people are getting used to the idea that now we have to use some form of technology in learning. Number two, in the rural areas, there was this time we were working as part of my edtech project. We were working on integrating a library kind of learning platform, right, for children to access thousands of books. And trust me, Kwame, one of the biggest things that we faced was that we couldn't get children who had like their own personal, is it a tablet or phone or anything to access normal books. It was hard. Now, that was not only in a rural problem. Some actually in Accra or the other regional capitals, they're like, oh, this is amazing, but how are the children going to access to me? I use my phone for this. I use my phone for that. So you can just imagine, right? But then over the years, even though these projects fell through somewhere, maybe in 2020 or 2019, 2021, believe you me, there are companies that are distributing libraries on phone, on mobiles, and some have actually found solutions around audiobooks. Some have found solutions around maybe TV, reading it out for the children, radio. Some of them have, when one of the solutions that we started thinking around for some of the schools was that we actually started looking at partnering with some, is it the Amazon tablets, these tablet manufacturers, so that we could tell them this is what we wanted to use it for. Then they give it to us at very, very low prices, right? And then we come sell it to the parents and, of course, offload the library on the tablet. So I think that even though we'll call it nonsense, I think it's actually picking up and it's really exciting. I even want to go back to rebuilding my edtech. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, you are no different from all the other, if you like, edtech people I've spoken to, where, despite the fact that there's been, well, pre-COVID, there was a very, very, very slow adoption and integration of tech in the education space. And then we had the situation where COVID came in and it's like, we're running around like headless chickens trying to figure out, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I agree with you 100% when you say that, even schools in the capital, schools that were paying, that require, a huge sums of money, to get your child in. We're struggling. I know a number of schools that's, literally had to close down because they didn't know what to do. And well, post-COVID, we are having a situation where a lot of, I particularly am happy about the fact that we are having a situation where we have, a lot of indigenous, innovators, people who are coming into the space, coming up with solutions to solve problems that leverage, to solve problems that leverage on tech to solve issues in the classroom or to facilitate teaching and learning. And it's really great, So despite the fact that there is that general dark cloud that is hovering, at least over the country, and now I would say to an extent across the continent, when I speak to people like yourself in the tech space, there's that glimmer of hope. There's that silver lining that indicates that well, things are a little slow now, but as we move along, things are going to pop up, right? We are sort of creating that foundation to where we are going to have a host of solutions popping up, and it's going to ultimately positively impact our education sector. So it's really, really exciting to hear. So now, this is a perfect segue into, why we are having our conversation in the first place. So you are a technological author. I want you to unpack that for me, for listeners who do not know what that is.
Okay, so let me start this way before I get into the numbers, right? Kwame, we all have that one book that changed our lives, right? Yes. When you hear people talk, they will tell you, oh, we had Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's cliche where people say, oh, I started being very serious when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I had a very good or a changed attitude about money when I read a book, finance book. It was really like put into a story. I think it's Smart Money Woman. I think we know that book, right? Now, I had bought a lot of finance books here, but they were quite boring, like with all these terms and stuff, right? So she put it in a story, and a lot more young girls are investing. Some have changed, some have added a lot more things to what they're doing. And so I thought about it. Okay, there is a big issue about interest in digital skills. Now, let's go into the numbers. I was just, scrolling through LinkedIn. I do that once in a while when I get the chance. And then I chanced on an industry person who shared the World Skills Clock. Right. So the World Skills Clock is just like a data monitor visualization platform by UNICEF, Education Commission, GenU, and World Data Lab. So what they do is that they track education and digital skills. I can send you that link after. Yeah. And then this is what got me, like, I couldn't sleep. Now, out of the youth, let me put it youth or young people between 15 to 24 years, 15 to 24 years, right? That population is 6 million. Let me just put it 6.4 million. Let me not mention all the numbers. Out of that 6.4 million, 5.2 million, representing 81% of Ghanaian youth, do not have digital skills. Wow. Now that's just it. I was like, what? No, I'm on LinkedIn here and I keep hearing people talking about, oh, I just learned this. Like, you are surrounded when you're on LinkedIn and all these platforms, you see like people who are learning stuff, doing big stuff. And so you have this thing in your mind that, oh, everybody is learning tech or tech is everywhere. But the data brings you back to life. It brings you, so it brought me back. I said, no, this can't be happening. How can this be? 81%. So I started going. Of course, I have to do more research again, right? I know that our Ghanaian data collection are a bit skeptical. And so some people put it a bit at 30% and all that. But for me, I believe this. When I started talking to young people, right? 52 or 5.2, which is 81% of young people of the 6.4 million do not have digital skills. Like, let's sink that in. I couldn't sleep for days. I said, no, what could be the reason? So I started researching. I was on World Economic Forum. I was on World Bank, all MasterCard even. I was on this platform trying to understand what could be the reason. And there was one thing that stood up, which is interest of young people. It wasn't only a girl's issue. It was a young people issue. Young people don't want to code. It's hard. Young people are not interested because in culture-wise, it doesn't make any sense. If you can go to the farm in the rural area and get some cassava and go and sell, what is the point of struggling to write some code, right? So these were some of the issues. Like, if all people are going around taking digital skills to villages or training people, doing all kinds of trainings and stuff, why is it that we still have these huge numbers? And so interest, awareness became a very important theme that started, coming out to me. And so I was like, let me put this to test. Talking to young people. Oh, I want to be a footballer. Oh, I want to be a billionaire. How do you intend to become that billionaire? So don't worry, you know what to do. That is it. And when it came to even young people using especially those in the poor areas and stuff, they maybe want to use it to scam, right? There's no money in all this coding, so let's use it to get some money from some white woman. Those are the issues that I feel that much work has not been done. But then I kept telling myself that there is this one book that changes somebody's perception. And if we cannot get young people to code, even in the midst of all these plenty government-funded initiatives, we are teaching AI, we are in Tiobodon, we are teaching these people how to do this. But at the end of the day, there is still a lot of young people, 81% of them, who are just not interested, or they don't have access, or they haven't, it could be because once somebody is, how do you call it? Once somebody is encouraged and inspired, nothing becomes an obstacle again. And for me, I think that was the essence of what I was writing, right? I came from a perspective where a young lady came from a village, very curious, but has no information, right? And then encountered an American tutor who started mentoring her, and then got her an opportunity to come to a high-end senior secondary school. That was where I was coming from, right? And so I felt that there is a lot more work that needs to be done in the area of interest and awareness. So I think my book, or the theme that I'm going with, inspiring the next 1 million, or closing the digital gap using storytelling. So that is where I really came strongly from. Yeah.
Interesting. I always say that just keeping my toes in the education space for a few years now, one thing that I boldly say is, if you do not have passion for it, if you do not have a certain level of commitment for it, it's not the space for you. And I am thankful. I am thankful to have the opportunity to say that all of the people I've spoken to, including yourself, there clearly is a certain burning desire to want to contribute to the overall education system that we want, one that is going to give us sort of outcomes, one that is going to improve and add, one, a skill set, one, a value foundation, one, an attitudinal foundation that is going to transform the lives of the individuals who partake in it, right? And listen, your reason, based on the rather stark data that was presented, is showing that there's an awareness problem, there's an interest problem, and for us to, build anything of substance that is going to add, or that is going to improve the dark situation, we need to go all the way back. That's what we need to start from. We need to start from creating that buzz, right? Creating that noise, and then finding ways to generate that interest. And interestingly, you see it all around with products, with services, with a whole host of things, right? So I look at advertising. From the moment you wake up this and you put on your radio, you put on your TV, there's some ad that is, trying to get into your ear. I want you to know about them. One, so that's awareness. Once I know about you, I cannot buy your product, or I cannot use your service if I don't know who you are, right? So the conversation around awareness, a proper execution on awareness is what creates interest, right? So applying that logic, or applying that, if you like, reasoning to the tech space, and how we want to encourage our young people to get into the tech space, or to leverage on the tech space to transform their lives, one big issue has to be, how are we working at awareness? What are we doing? Are we just talking about, this solution here, or, there's this funded thing there, everything in silos? Is there a concerted effort to put out, or to create a machine that is geared towards, making or creating that buzz about awareness? Because, like I said earlier, is that awareness that's going to create, or that's going to encourage young people to get interested in the tech space. So yes, I mean, like I was saying, it's brilliant how you gone about addressing this issue of awareness, right? Awareness of the tech space, awareness of how students can, immediately leverage on it to add a certain skill sets to their lives, to where they can become, they can contribute. They can contribute. Once you have a skill set, you can lean on that skill set to be able to contribute some solution, or contribute some perspective change, or challenge the status quo in a way that is going to be positive, right? And your premise, or how you started the whole story, is brilliant. It's brilliant in the sense that you started with the fact that each one of us, in one way or the other, right, we had a certain perspective change. We were inspired by reading a book. And even the whole conversation about reading a book started from somewhere, right? I remember there was a buzz some years ago, where children were encouraged to read. Pick a book and read. Pick a book and read. And that's how come when you mentioned Kiyosaki and all of that, and all the smart woman, the book you mentioned, right? The Smart Money Woman. And I'm sure if I throw it out to the audience, to our listeners, they might mention a whole host of of books where they pick something that changed their life, a book that gave them that eureka moment. And it's brilliant you've gone that angle, because books are incredibly powerful. They're incredibly powerful. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm sure listeners, will post this on our page when we post this episode for you to check out the Tech Hustle, right? Written by Charity Apuli, and you see why I am rather passionate and excited about the rather brilliant thing she has done. Really, really awesome stuff. Really awesome stuff, Charity. This is brilliant. I want to jump straight away into, since you put out this book, The Tech Hustle, right? That's the title of the book, listeners. The title is The Tech Hustle, the journey of a girl who emerged out of nowhere. Brilliant title, really catchy title. I want to talk on success, the success story, or success stories after you embarked on authoring this book.
Yeah, sure. So I knew right from the beginning that writing a book for young people means that I would have to do a lot of talking to parents, teachers, schools, the direction I would want to go. Now, of course, when you write a book coming from a digital marketing perspective, you always have to find people or the young people who read this book to, give you feedback, how it is, how it has changed their mind, their perspective. And so even before we launched in November, we did 2 different launches. We did the official outdooring in November 2023. And then 2 weeks ago, on 3rd February 2024, we did the stakeholder, which was a more focused and larger audience at IB Styles at Airport City. Now, even before all of that, I had to give out the books to some young people. And these are some of the stories. Okay, let me start from one that is very close to my heart, and that's my daughter, right? So I have a teenage daughter, Delali, and she was the one who was really going through the book with us, giving us feedback and all that. And this is it. People don't understand the impact this book has made in her life. So Delali was, I had her at a very young age, even before I went to university. So it means that I leave her with my mom before I go to school, right? And so you can imagine she was in the village with my mom, imbibing all these cultural traits and stuff. So by the time I could bring her, was way older before she came to stay with me. And this were some of the traits I started hearing. Mom, why should a woman be driving? Mom, why should a woman? I was like, where did you hear all these things from? Like, what's going on, right? This is an enlightened mom, knows what's up, knows what's going on. And then their daughter is saying all this. And of course, all parents want their children to do better than them. It has always been a thing. Once you win 1,000, your children should win 10,000. And with this kind of mindset she's having, honestly, it's not going to work. So I had already started telling her stories about Cinderella, all these cartoons and stuff. And so she was already like interested in stories. But one day I told myself that stories I'm telling this girl about Cinderella is not even in Africa here. I need to find a way to bring the story home. I need to create characters where she's able to relate to them, right? So I started by doing some kind of storytelling around role models, right? So I'll tell stories of people like Marseille Martins, one of I think the youngest producer. I think she was in Greenwich or something like that. I started telling her stories around those people, right? I started telling her there was this young girl who this, and then she became. They said, "Oh, mommy, really?" So I started telling, and I saw the powerful impact of stories, even until I started penning down the pages of Tech Hustle. Right? I already told her this story, so she was just trying to relate to everything. Now, Delali today, from who she used to be, is now a public speaker. She is a software engineer at a very young age. So she writes letters to these international schools, and then she goes talk to them about digital skills. She talks to them about diabetes, any topic at all. So she has spoken on GIS platform in school. She has done a lot of public speaking at church, and the difference is vast. It's absolutely vast, right? And from somebody who asked me, oh, why should a woman live there? Now wants to build a big tech company. And that is amazing, really. And today, I don't know, I'm not too sure if I should mention it, but now Delali is a proud mentee of a telecom giant, Miss Lucy Chris. They do a lot of gisting, storyboarding, vision boarding, goals, dreams, and all that. And for me, that is one of the biggest, because right from home, I have seen the amazing and importance of raising and picking the interest of a young person. When I began to see all this, then I'm like, no, I have to finish this book and start giving the draft out to people. And these are some of the stories. So when I visited school, I gave it to one headmaster, and he said, wow, the amount of thought you put into this book is absolutely amazing. I am inspired even at my age, and I can't wait. And so he started facilitating for me to talk to parents and give the book out to the students in his school. And there's also one lady, Nyameche, in a very upscale school here in Accra. I gave the book to her. She took it to her class. The teacher sees the book from her, read it, and started screaming, whoa! The whole class, 25 people at a time, ordered for the book, right? I gave it to young people. Or is it about these two young girls I met from Ashesi, from Cameroon? That's Susie and Favor. I'm sure they'll be listening to this podcast when I share the link with them. Theirs is absolutely amazing. Okay, so they came from a very humble beginning, just like Sewa, because I am so interested in that story, because just like Sewa, they came from let's call it one-man village. So they had a scholarship to study at the Ames here in Ghana. And they built an amazing agri-tech solution for their village, because they saw the big challenges that they were facing. And so I was invited to the British High Commissioner's house. Like, it was a very intimate conversation about digital skills. It was a special invitation, and I met them there, and I handed them copies of the book. And they read it, and they're like, Aunt Charity, I was giving up on this thing. Like, there was a lot of challenges. But this book actually inspired me. And so because of that, I want to be able to give it to other girls in my village, right? And I just spoke to one lady, Esther. She does a lot of rural girls in STEM. She gave one of the books. She just bought one copy, and gave it to one of the girls. The girl is saying, I really like, she was so happy. She was just telling me on the phone even before I joined in the podcast. So that story is there. Sometimes you may look at the book from an outside field view and think, oh no, this is just another book. No, this book is not just another book. It's actually intentionally written to get young people inspired, to get them inspired into action. And so that was what brought me to our last launch, which was the stakeholder launch. That event, I'm still not woken up from it, from the amount of evidence to the work that I started doing, even when it was a bit doubtful. What will the book do? What will the book do? And stuff, right? That event started what we call a mini revolution, where all the attendants, like when I said, somebody told me launching a book at this time, who is going to pay, who is going to give you money? We put out something we call the auction time, where we said, is it love boxes? We call it the love boxes because we needed money to, distribute more books, do more rural evangelism work, tech evangelism work. And trust me, Kwame, I was shedding tears. Like, I cried for days. People were just putting in the money, like 2K. What I said, oh my God, what is this? Like, they believe and they understand what inspiration can help you take action. They knew, these are industry people, they knew the amount of work they had to do, convincing a young lady or a young girl, whether in school or out of school, to get into a skill that is actually the future of work, like World Economic Forum will call it. And so that has been, for me, the success stories that I'm getting. And now that we are putting with all these monies, now we can actually, we've done 500. I'm now in the process of printing 1,000 more books, because that's how much funds we are actually raising, or we've raised some to add more, just to share, do initiatives in some of these communities. I'm happy that Esther is helping me get some of these rural places and giving me the backstory and why we need to come to some of these rural area. So it's very collaborative. People who believe in our vision give us $500, $100, how many Ghana cedi, all that money. And then we locate the areas and then we give it to them. Or your youth group, people in Accra here, we actually sell the book to them, right? So there have been a lot of orders from even the people who came for the land. Some ordered up to 20 books and carried it in their hands just to go and give to people. Look, Charity, you are doing my work. Oh, I don't even have to talk to these people to come to my space to come and learn data science or learn HTML or learn this or learn that. And so for me, I think that was a little bit of, gap that we are looking to fill and, increase our impact, not only in Ghana, but then, other African countries.
Listen. I have been smiling from ear to ear. My heart is happy. I was just thinking this is some really heartwarming, inspirational stuff. This is really awesome stuff. It just goes to say that purposeful projects that we work on, the projects that, I believe is most often than not bigger than ourselves, that we want to contribute to. When we start, there's a certain magic that follows it. It has this way of connecting you with people and resources and things that in your wildest dreams at the time you probably not have thought it was possible. And the impact, it tends to have on not even people you're even doing it for. It has this way it spreads. The impact, it just spreads to so many people. And this is just a classic example of what a purposeful project is. A project where you wanted to contribute your quota, you wanted to challenge the status quo, you wanted to change perspectives, you wanted to open a window for people to see the light of what the tech space and the opportunities that are available is. And I mean, just look at you from where you started. If I told you some years ago that you're going to be an author of a technological book, a book that was focusing on tech, and from Delali all the way to the now it's going to go to different spaces and different regions. It's an inspirational pack that is being sent to the far corners of our country and hopefully on the continent and even the world. And
yeah, amen.
It's just going to let a little child somewhere know that it is possible. And that is an amazing, amazing, amazing thing to embark on. And I'm truly happy. I'm smiling. I'm still smiling. I'm talking and smiling at the same time. But this is wonderful. Tech hustle. Our continent, that is, I mean, based on the data, only the girls. It's both. It's the youth, right? It's teens and it's younger children who just don't have that access, right? Making them know through a book that it's possible, right? It's amazing to look into the tech space. It's amazing to see what you can do and turn around, and the solutions you can bring forth when you leverage on tech is incredibly powerful. It's really, really powerful. And I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy that I got to speak to you today and tell people about the amazing thing that you're doing with this book.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's crazy. Time has flown by fast, but I'm definitely inviting you over again to have a discussion on other things. Once you're this is an area that I am particularly passionate about, and I'm happy you've taken myself, stakeholders who might probably be listening, and my listeners to another direction, which is the fact that you can come up with a book, right? From a book, you can go on to become a blog. It could be something that you put together, right? Couching content, crafting content, and then putting it out there, right?
Yeah.
That data on our side that is suggesting that The internet penetration is getting far, mobile phone penetration is getting far, data penetration is getting far. And so the hope is that, one way or the other, somebody will be inspired somewhere by some content that has been posted on social media, some book like you have done, that will just, drop in the person's hands. The person will read and realize that, well, wow, the world is much, much bigger than the four corners of where I am. And everything that I dream about, achieving, or the impact that I desire to make in the world is very possible. Charity Apuli, this has been incredibly awesome. Thank you for joining, this episode. I'm just turning your book in and out, and then just,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the honor. I appreciate it a lot. Yeah.
Really good. So Charity, I just want to wrap up and say that the education space is happy to have you. I wish you all the very best. More grease to your elbows. We'll be rooting for you, really, really hard from here. We are thankful that you're part of the education space, and we are thankful that you have the right amount of passion, you have the right amount of commitment to want to contribute to making our education sector a positive one. I again wish you all the very best. God bless
you.
Continue to do this amazing work. Awesome. So to our listeners, this, I hope you're smiling like me, because I've been smiling from ear to ear, just nodding my head, listening to the success stories, listening to where the idea came from, where it's gotten to now, and I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to, go very far. This has really been awesome. I hope you picked up a thing or two. For the entrepreneurs in the space, do not give up on that idea. Understand that some magic can happen when you want to, challenge the status quo. You want to make a difference. Our education sector is happy to have people like Charity Apuli in the space. So until next episode, I hope you enjoy this. So until next episode, please stay safe and cheers.